Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and welcome to Future Friday. For those who do not know, and I'm pretty sure most of you already know, that we take a subject, we talk about it all week long, and we end here on Future Friday, surprisingly, with the same subject of love, lust, desire, and obsession, and everything that it deals with. Now, to be more specific, not only is this Future Friday, but we default to talking about transhumanism when it relates to tabletop RPG games. So that means we really prefer if you are someone who's familiar with phrases such as cortical stacks and resleeving and cloning and those kind of subjects. Specifically, role-playing games such as Altered Carbon, Eclipse Phase, Transhuman Space, and so many other settings and role-playing games that deal with these subjects. So this one is probably going to devolve into some pretty dark areas when it comes to, love and desire and obsession, especially when technology has been reduced to the point where time, energy, resources, and our own wishes becomes reasonably easy to get. And that's one of the if you are a glass half full kind of person, where hey, when we reach the point where we've reached the singularity in transhumanism, life will be great and beautiful and sunshine and rainbows, and that's kind of like me. Or you could kind of go down a pretty dark friggin' path when everyone around you is able to then cultivate their world into and their bodies and their minds even into the method and manner in which they wish to see themselves and see others. Yeah, and Dead Man, thank you. By the way, guys, this show is TriCast over on Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server, so you can join in there. We do have a live audio and video out to Twitch and YouTube, and just audio for our Discord server. And we're down there in the boiler room, by the way. And yes, Dead Man, you're absolutely right. The Eclipse Phase core book talks about this topic a couple of times, and for good reason, right? Like, yes, as players, we love to run and gun, right? We love to, like, I'm going to have my character, roided out with like cyber tech or some kind of biomorph or synthetic morph with guns and weapons and basically gun porn, right? Cyber porn, I guess, would be a better way of biotech, nanotech porn. Anyway, but your average citizen, in many ways, if given the opportunity, they're not thinking about like guns and battle and I'm gonna like be a badass. It pretty much devolves into like selfish wants and needs. Now, there's nothing wrong with someone wanting things for themselves, but when it comes to desiring what others have or a desire for someone else, and you have the ability to in many ways shape and cultivate exactly what you want from someone else or what you desire and then have it at your fingertips, in many ways, you don't have to scrape the surface too deeply to find some dark things, right? Now, Deadman says, for example, the character Sava has a love interest whom she is seeking information about her location, right? Okay, so let's start out with surveillance or surveillance, ubiquitous surveillance, which we talked about on our another Future Friday. Is how easy is it for you to stalk someone? I mean, today we have location tracking and apps and where are you and what are you doing, and you can contact people for the most part instantaneously anywhere in the world, and if not instantaneously, it's pretty darn close to it. Imagine if you, with such ubiquitous surveillance legally, it's pretty easy to track when and where someone is, if you are an above board legal citizen, especially if you're on the same planetary system. Yeah, pretty easy. And even if someone wants to disappear, the act of you disappearing from any kind of sensors or tracking or cameras or GPS in itself, it's weird, but your void becomes a red flag for anybody trying to track you down in the first place. Yeah, okay. Um, so keeping track of someone that you, even if you have a passing relationship with, and even that person doesn't even know it, pretty damn easy uh, to stalk people. And as a matter of fact, your own muse, your own computer AI computer systems may even help you stalk people. They could give you, they could literally analyze while you're taking a little rest or something, um, operate for you to find people that you would be interested in nearly anywhere, and then help you stalk them by tracking their whereabouts, so that you could potentially have a relationship with them, and you yourself may be hyper analyzed over and over again and not even know it, right? So okay, so stalking someone is pretty damn easy. And even if you try to make the excuse of, well, I just don't want to be found, or I don't want people knowing where I'm at, or what I'm logging into, and what kind of clothes I wear, and what kind of meals I eat, and what my biometrics are when I walk down the street, right? But even that itself, like I said, not only does it give you a red flag, but in a strange way, there may even be a portion of the population that, craves their own that craves their own privacy, and the people that are private might have uh, an entourage of followers for no other reason than to try to pierce their privacy, either because people are just nosy, or there's a sense of uh, there's a sense of mystery about an individual in a world where everyone's being tracked all the time and recorded and everything, that the people who aren't, it's like maybe there's something about them, and it could be quite subconscious, where people are just like, I'm interested in them. I don't know, what is it about them? I want to know about their life, and start tracking them. Dead Man says surveillance, watching from above, like the government or police watching you. So surveillance, watching from below, like the citizens watching the police and government. And that's the being watched, again, like from above and from below. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation, but surveillance and self-surveillance is the idea that I guess the easy way would be to say that your government or institution is watching you, and then you are watching them and what they do. Um, and when the higher levels are watching you, maybe they're watching you for any number of reasons. It could be for, of course, we talk about security and that kind of thing, but maybe they're watching you for entertainment purposes. Maybe they're watching you because they know other people are watching you. Like, we need to keep an eye on this guy because everyone else, this person has 187,000 followers who are watching their every move. Maybe we need to watch what they're doing, not knowing what it is that they're doing. And then, of course, there are those some things, no matter how great technology is, there are some things that maybe are undefinable. Charisma and attractiveness, and why people like someone for any particular reason at all, it has a lot to do with, sure, corporations know how to manipulate things, and you could have programming that has, gives an individual the perfect tone in their voice, and they practice this certain hand and body movements and facial features that are pleasant to people, but the collective of putting that all together sometimes is undefinable. Someone just happens to have this undefined charisma, and that draws other people to them. Now, once you start getting famous for whatever reason, we know today that being famous has nothing to do with having the ability to do anything. Uh, Then you start talking about your entourage, right? People that want to be like you, want to be near you, want to follow your every word, want um, to embrace everything that you're about when it comes to the obsession and jealousy and things. In a transhuman world, pretty easy to have say, oh, I don't know, cosmetic surgery to look like someone else that's famous. As a matter of fact, there are uh, back in the original rendition of the R. Talsorian cyberpunk game, there were lots of street gangs, when the street gangs were poser gangs, and the poser gangs dressed up as someone famous. I remember having a gunfight with the Eddie Murphys. Eddie Murphy Raw era. Anyway, but it was pretty ridiculous to the game master could do all the different iterations of Eddie Murphy, and we're all anyway. It could be pretty ridiculous, but let's be honest. If today, if people had the ability to be that way, wouldn't they? I mean, we already hell. You can find you could throw a rock and hit somebody that's got a tattoo from their favorite musician, television show, their personal interests. Hell, I was into martial arts very heavily for a good 8 to 10 year period, 3 4 days a week, and I've got a tattoo about that. Why wouldn't I go even further? And there would be people who want to make themselves look like, I don't know, Donnie Yen or Jackie Chan or someone like that, you know. And heck, you can even go even further with the body modifications. But if someone cannot afford to, oh yeah, us. Thanks, Dante. So the not only is it possible for someone to change their body, but we also have ways to change our minds. And we understand that there's a large portion of the population that's like, I'm not getting plastic surgery of, well, I guess it wouldn't even be called plastic surgery. It would be like biomodification. But there would not only be that, but when it comes to artificial intelligence and virtual realities, oh my God, like how many people would want to buy an off-the-shelf version of Taylor Swift to have and hold in their own virtual reality world, or hell, just have their own muse in their own brains. If you guys are not familiar, in Eclipse phase, there's something called a muse, which is a general term for a personal assistant. It's basically your laptop, your cell phone, but it is in your brain. It is implanted inside of you. And who's to say that your muse can't appear to you as your favorite pop star or actress or musician or politician or family member or individual you've been stalking for the last 6 months, who doesn't even know who you are, but you've recorded their conversations and their behaviors, and now you want to have this individual in your head as your relationship, and this person has no idea you decide to steal their personalities. Moments like, I'd rather have Whoopi Goldberg than Taylor Swift. Yeah, I guarantee you, there maybe you might have a collection of them, like a keychain. Yeah, Rickard says, wonder how much that happened after Bruce Lee died and all the lookalike movies started popping up. Yep, all the lookalike movies. Heck, you can trace trends throughout our own time period, just around you, and look at the trends and just imagine those trends turned up, the volume turned up to 11, and you start getting chills like, ooh. I'll say even, let's go with, say, the reality star Kardashian look. You know, you start going towards how many reality shows there are, Big Brother and Survivor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Deadman says a muse is just a Siri upgraded. Sure is. It's also a plot device. Come on, that's what it is. It's a MacGuffin. It's a plot device to get people to go and give them information that you don't need. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's the best meta plot device, I think, in any role-playing game ever, to give players information and motivate them to latch on to your story hook in no better way. Maybe we could talk about that at some time as well. Omen, really? Omen says, nah, you just need a plastic blow-up doll for Kim Kardashian. Listen, this is transhuman. It doesn't even have to be, it could literally be a blow-up doll, like, what is it, from Big Hero 6, and still look and sound and act hideously realistic. Yeah, Rickard says historical figures seem like a common one as well, to be honest. And now, mind you, I could see that happening in a non-insidious way. A college that has nothing but a number of historical figures on their staff and to talk to, either as virtual reality assistants or classroom instructors or individuals to talk to for in law or medicine or science or something like that. Yeah, heck yeah. No, this is absolutely no offense to Stephen Hawking, but with this technology, he would instantly be recreated as his college-born self in a very English morning suit with a coat and tails and all that kind of stuff. Of course. Yeah, Rickard says real examples: Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, Bruce Liu, Bruce Lee, Lee Bruce, Bruce Lee, to name some. Yeah. Oh my goodness, how many people would want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff? It'd be crazy. Okay, so, but you could go a little bit darker with that too, right? And here's one of the things that I love about transhumanist gaming is because it challenges our notion of what morality is, right? Is it okay to monitor someone without their knowledge to the point where you can have an AI system, to the best of its ability, recreate that person's behavior, personality, intonations, their wants and desires, and then keep them in your own virtual reality, right? Is that, I mean, sure, on one hand, you may go, as long as they're not hurting anybody. And then on the other hand, I'm like, okay, well then can I own you and have you in my own virtual reality playground? You might be, despite the fact you're not hurt, maybe that is a little bit of a theft, right? Bruceploitation was an actual subgenre. You are so correct with that. There were some terrible ones. I think there's even some terrible ones even to today when it comes to like advertisement and such. Today, in our modern context, we have the idea of deep fakes, right? And the legalities of deep fakes. Like, for example, there's already legislation, at least here in the States, that deals with the fact that you can't deep fake a famous person into like pornography or something. Basically, deep faking someone's face without specifically stating that they're being deep faked for a purpose. Deadman says Kim Kardashian has sued the company making the Kim Kardashian blow up doll. Well, there you have it, right? And listen, you can't. Kim can sue a company all she wants. They already exist out there, and I guarantee you, people are like, it's not the Kim Kardashian, it's the Tim Pukashian doll. I don't know, right? A lot of knockoffs, and what a weird underground, what a weird black market for like knockoff personalities that you can buy to insert into your virtual reality. I'm pretty sure past the rim in our own solar system, the people living past the rim and the anarchists out there are like trading cards. They're buying, selling, and trading famous people or historical figures or those individuals as like trading cards. Like, got yourself a chip, download it, here you go. You can get your chip printed out for just a low price of a favor that I need from you. Tesla Ranger says, need to copyright your likeness. Happens all the time with actors and their characters' action figures. You are absolutely correct. And there's even some contractual gray area. For example, if I'm an actor in a movie, and let's pick someone, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Okay, so is his likeness as Iron Man owned by Disney/Marvel Cinematic Universe to recreate his face when using him as a likeness for Iron Man? Or is Robert Downey Jr.'s face specific to him and cannot be used for, say, video games? Now, you can get even more gray. Robert Downey Jr. is like, oh yeah, I'll appear in that video game. Sure, it's part of my contract. But then when he decides to quit being whatever he's doing or wants to retire as an actor, can he stop the video game company from replicating his face over and over again when he's like, I'm not that character anymore. I'm a real person, you know? And what if they have him saying and doing things that he doesn't approve of? You know, has he signed away his own likeness can he come back and scrape his likeness back? You know, there's even industries now that are out there whose sole job function is to scrape back information out there in the data, the ether, so that you appear to, say, employers to look your best, as opposed to that picture of you being pissy drunk, or that video of you saying and doing things that you had no idea of because, you know, you were young, you were college or something, college age, and 20 years have gone by, and an employer is like, click, 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 social media. Whoa, what's that a picture of? And you're like, yeah, I got a tat. It was my hangover days, but that was in my past. We know today people are being taken down by groups who are scouring their social media footprint to find things that are a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years plus older. And, you know, can you get past those images? And then how the obsession of people scouring your past, is that really you or not? Yep. Deadman says the Eclipse Phase Transhuman book also talks about the limited edition morphs, right? So it's not even the idea of, say, a rando person becoming famous simply because of their undefined charisma. We are also a people we are tribal in every way, shape, that you can describe. And those tribes have to deal with our careers, you know, our jobs, our families, our neighborhoods, our nations, heck, our appearance, from hair color to skin color to height and weight, to fashion in all its forms, our hobbies even, right? And so when we tend to belong to a disparate and infinite number of these tribes, whether we know it or not. But one of those things also is based on time, based on affluence. It can be based on access. So, for example, there are those of us who want to be the first in line for new sneakers or the new album, or, hey, I discovered this new computer program first. So then there's also the people who are the limited edition people, right? Hey, I don't just want the book. I want the limited edition, leather bound, 20 copies only individual. I want to be the person who has the one of only 5 prints of this painting. I want to be the one who's the only one who's had a meal cooked specifically by this one chef. And so even on those kinds of like desires and obsessions, that even drives people to go to extreme lengths to even make whatever they own or have access to become that much more rare, right? If there's 20 prints of a famous painting, it sure does become more valuable when you, I don't know, flush one out of an airlock and now there's only 19 available, right? So now we're talking about a lot of like possessions and ownership, but now we're talking about love and lust and desire. And one of the complicated things about transhumanism is, and you'll notice in the games, unlike the layperson, where A layperson will talk about cloning as being a horror story, right? Like, oh, well, what if someone can clone you? But in transhumanist games, it's not just cloning. Cloning is subdivided into your DNA. So someone could collect your DNA from any public source. You went to a restaurant, you spat on the ground, you kissed some rando person after going to a certain habitat, and then left out, and they collected your DNA for whatever reason. You went to the restroom and they collected it from there, and they could grow an entire body, a clone of your body. Now, of course, that is your body. They could stick any, if they wish, they could stick any personality inside of that body, as we've seen in display in, say, the Altered Carbon television show, where the main character, or one of the main characters, is attacked by mercenaries operating in the body of the people that they have the most psychological conflict with. So imagine someone decides to, oh, I don't know, clone the bodies of, say, your long lost sister, or your dead relative, or a pretty foul relationship you had, or tries to wean their way back into your good graces by using, maybe there was a lost love and you always wanted to reconnect with them. Oh, and you just happened to drop into Olympus Mons, and there she is across the way, even though it's an assassin here to kill you, who did a deep dive into your footprint, realized you had an old relationship, and decides to take over their body and fool you, right? Now, not only is it just DNA, someone can actually just do this through simple biometrics, right? They can take a synthetic body, a robot, an android body, cover it with synthetic flesh, cover it with the image or the appearance of an individual you're looking for, a la Terminator, and then fool you that way as well. And as a matter of fact, if you're rich enough, why would you even have to? You wouldn't even have to have a relationship with a person who has no interest in you. You could just copy everything that they are, keep copies in your own home through covered synthetics or biologically grown people. But if you're completely obsessed, i.e., each of us considers ourselves to be completely unique, and despite the fact that someone very rich and powerful has a harem full of individuals that look like you because they're obsessed with you, maybe that's not, no matter how much detail and how much fidelity there is, maybe they just want the you that's you. Sure, I've got a keychain filled of personality chips that are based off of you and your actions, but I want you. That's a terrible name for a movie. Enter Another Dragon, because entering the first dragon wasn't good enough. Sorry, I had to let that sit there. All right, so this idea that the player characters themselves might even be mercenaries or agents tasked with, much like Mission Impossible, maybe tasked with sleeving themselves into the bodies or frames of others that look like someone important to their mission. So yeah. Yeah, Rickard. Too bad we never got the sequel. Enter Yet Another Dragon. We are entering all dragons. Anyway, so with obsession and desire and such, there is also the possibility that someone, you could be manipulated because someone isn't who they really are. Deadman knows about these. There are, in Eclipse Phase, they detail celebrities who are artificially created to be celebrities. So, for example, various media groups will hire individuals who sleeve themselves into a morph that isn't any particular person. They were designed, meta celebrities. Yes, thank you there, Deadman. There are meta celebrities who are designed specifically to draw your attention, to draw your desire and jealousy and love and admiration and obsession with them, right? So they're like these they're not off the shelf. They are individuals who don't really exist, although they really could exist, right? But anyway, they are then manipulated by various individuals who portray this person, so this person can be portrayed 24 hours a day, even though the people sleeved into them are hired for the sole purpose of pretending to be one single meta celebrity. And so that, for example, imagine a meta celebrity. Let's play with bad choice of words, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let's play with Kim Kardashian, right? Let's say Kim Kardashian wants to be portrayed as a as a famous, beautiful, excellent actress, singer, stunt woman, special forces agent, surfer, scientist, whatever, right? So, but it's really possible if the Kim Kardashian sleeve is then operated by, I don't know, a retired special forces soldier whose sole purpose is to pretend to be Kim Kardashian, going on missions to, I don't know, liberate rebel forces or to operate as a law enforcement officer or something like that. And of course, everyone's like, I love my meta celebrity. She's a great singer. And it's like, well, no, maybe someone sleeved into them who actually really can perform, although they would have to modify the throat. But of course they would. They would modify the body and the throat and the pheromones and all that kind of stuff to become, and of course you completely surrounded by an entourage of people whose only job is to make the meta celebrity look and sound their best and say and do things that are enticing, whether they make sense or not, right? So now, to go even deeper, because we got to go a little bit deeper into this and a little bit darker. There are many people who would, if given the opportunity and the freedom to do things, segue slightly. In general, people follow the law and follow the social norms for two reasons. Either A, they believe in the social norms and the law, and they don't want to break those rules, or people are scared of the consequences of breaking those rules. Yeah, Deadman says there's also suicide artists, meta celebrities. Yeah. There's actually a book of short stories when George R.R. Martin was an editor, and in one of them there was a short story about suicide artists. And oh yeah, Dante says tangent, albino exotics from the 97 Steps, also good source material for today's topic. Yeah, Steve Perry, not the musician, but the writer, wrote a series called the Matador series, and short books, but they're really good. They're really, really good. Yes, suicide artists, yeah, XP meta celebrities who kill themselves in creative and surreal ways. Nasty. Attacking hypercore bodyguards with AR weapons, spacing themselves after drinking dangerous amounts of colored dyes. What the? What? So they explode in like colorful manners? That's pretty ridiculous. I love it. So yes, I mean, could you imagine the followers of a suicide artist and the average citizens who want to reenact the suicide artist's capabilities? I mean, I'm sure floating around the solar system, there are people who are engaging in these real life meta dangerous acts where the public does not know that they are doing such a thing. Out there in the public, I don't know, like you said, drinking fluids where acid eats away their insides and such, or they're like kids doing stupid pranks, like riding on the hood of a car and they slam on the brakes, or eating eating those pods that go into dishwashers, or trying to do the cinnamon challenge, or what was one that I almost almost killed a kid doing there was some kind of Superman challenge where kids would hide in bushes and run across the street at the last minute when the cars were coming by. I mean, in a transhuman society, Jesus, yeah. Thank you there. Yeah, Steve Perry is an American television writer and science fiction author. He wrote a lot of Star Wars books as well. And he is a lifelong martial artist. He detailed a Star Wars martial art in his books, as a matter of fact. I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, albino exotics, people that are obsessed with, like, what's the other, in Eclipse Phase, there are the dolls. Dolls are gender fluid pod morphs that people can rent for their entertainment purposes, and there are others who live in doll morphs either by choice or force, mostly by economic force and social force and political force and whatnot, criminal forces. But anyway, people being obsessed with them, or I think would even be a possibility. I mean, for one, I suppose any old rando person can rent a doll and have that doll become the person that they want. But then, you know, maybe even that fix isn't enough. They want a specific person portraying a specific doll that has a specific personality that they're trying to track across the solar system, because that's the person that they feel like they're in love with. Now, going even further into darker regions, there are some pretty heinous crimes that we consider today, not very morally ambiguous, but the end result of the moral ambiguity is important when it comes to dealing with it in transhumanism. An example would be, if in the privacy of my own home, I have an AI create a personality for say a synth morph that pretends to be my slave in my house, am I violating anyone's rights if that slave synth morph that has the skin of someone that I've been tracking for a couple of months is programmed to pretend and act like they are my consummate slave? Now, you might go, icky, but okay, maybe I can deal with it. All right, let's go a little further with that. What if someone grows a biological body and inserts a personality into it, maybe an off-the-shelf personality? Is that okay? Okay, what if you've somehow got a black market personality from somebody else that is alive out there doing their own thing and has no idea what you're doing? Is it okay to insert then that copy of that person's personality into that biomorph that you're putting in your basement and treating like a slave and doing all kinds of like dangerous, heinous acts to? Let's go back to Dead Man's suicide artist comment. Is it okay for you to do this because you go, well, it's not a big deal? I mean, I'm paying for them to be re-sleeved anyway. That was a major plot point in the first season of Altered Carbon. The rich meths up there floating above the lower folk down the bottom of the gravity well, and dangling money and prestige and safety for the lower folk to be tortured over and over again because, well, it's just body damage. It's just property damage, right? I mean, we are going to re-sleeve you, aren't we? Dante says there was an actor at the end of the Matador series that one politician contracted to play his own daughter so he could trade the contractor to another politician and hide his real daughter. It was one of my favorite subplots to the series. Oh yeah, yes, it was. Yeah, it was. Okay. The one politician wanted to buy the other politician's daughter, but right, they contracted a grown adult to be sleeved into, basically, since we're talking about transhuman, sleeved into the body of a child to portray a child because they knew the other politician had a proclivity for pedophilia, right? So Now we're going to talk about like rapists, pedophilia, serial killers. Where do they fit in transhuman society, right? Um, is it a safe bet to give them their own virtual realities, to let them like is it icky? But it's like, well, as long as they're in their own heads, it's okay. Um, but what if they start to bleed out from there? Maybe they start to hire actors to portray these individuals. Maybe they start um, buying black market or cold storage cortical stacks. Right? There's a lot of people in cold storage, and they start stealing them and inserting them into the bodies of children or victims or something like that, as they hunt them down in their own habitat on some rando asteroid out in the Oort cloud or whatever have you, right? Or maybe, just maybe, this goes past stalking, right? Like stalking is bad enough, being tracked wherever you go. Maybe this person starts stalking you all the time. Maybe, just maybe, they make copies of themselves so they can stalk you 24 hours a day, because at some point you got to get some sleep, right? So if I copy myself, maybe I can make a half dozen copies of myself so we can track you over and over again, trading off so we can get some sleep and then stalk you. Or maybe not only do we stalk you, but then we take the opportunity to like ravage you or murder you. This is a plot. I'm not advocating this at any point in time, but the person attacks you, ravages you, and then an anonymous individual, after being found dead in a dark alley somewhere, I don't know, on Luna or whatever, an anonymous donor just happens to, I don't know, pay for your re-sleeving so you can be back in your old body to have this done over and over to you again and again. And the authorities just can't figure out who's doing it. And the person being attacked is like, no, not again, as they're being like shot, killed, stabbed, choked, over and over. Could you imagine someone is attacking a player character, not for any big plot like power or prestige, but just because they want them. They just want you. Or a player character wakes up, they go to maybe ego cast or needle cast to some other planetary system or some habitat, and they wake up in somebody's brothel or basement or something, and they're like, what the hell just happened to me? I was supposed to appear somewhere. Firewall agents need to go get me. And you come to find out, well, actually they forked your brain, because the other part of your personality actually arrived where it is and has no idea that this section of your personality or a copy of your personality is in someone's basement. Yeah. If you are an ultimate in Eclipse phase, there is a faction known as the Ultimates, and they are dedicated to the idea of perfecting themselves in any and all ways in transhuman society, which means that they may or may not even desire to look human anymore, but it is a desire to be their very best physically, socially, mentally, the whole 9 yards, right? Imagine, if you will, a player character who's being hunted over and over again, but really it's their own personality doing it, because they are trying to hyper evolve themselves by attacking themselves in the most obscene manner, so that they learn from the attacks, so that it's one day revealed to them that it is really their own personality doing it. And then the cycle continues on when they graduate up to the core personality, releasing segments of their personality to learn how to survive out there in the wild, to be the best that they could be, to eventually be killed over and over again until they become like these superior warriors or something like that. That'd be a pretty good player concept, I think, or even a faction concept, right? Rickard says, yeah, talks about collateral damage. Says collateral damage becomes a non-issue as long as you don't take out take out a bystander stack. Really? Do you think so? I mean, some people, I'm being facetious, right? But some people might take it a little personal if they're on like a MacLeod train and you take out somebody's body, but their cortical stack is okay. It's like, dude, I was late to work because I had to be re-sleeved, and you're an a-hole for I don't know, derailing the maglev train and destroying 37 bodies that need to be re-sleeved, but you all did it for some kind of weird performance art, or because you're some kind of meta celebrity or something. I don't know. Yeah, Rickard's like, notice the quotes around non-issue, right? Yeah. Some might take that pretty personal. But yes, you are. But you're right. Like how? I'm sorry. Rickard goes on to say it's the thing with um, current day arm prosthetics and ball joints in the wrist, which lets you turn your hand 360 degrees around. Where did I refer to? Yeah, notice the quotes around the non-issue. The idea that you could not only can someone like be obsessed or even now, okay, we're going to have to flow away from the darker issues about this because Altered Carbon does hit upon more of a honorable, if somewhat classic idea of lost loves. Rickard talks about the hand-arm prosthetics was a reference to the Ultimates. Yes, the Ultimates, on one hand, we could say, oh, well, as a human being, we want to be the ultimate who we are. Like whether you're talking about like the CrossFit competitions, like I want to be the best there is. I want to be able to run, jump, swim, and challenge myself. But then you could take that even further. There's something known as a chess boxing, where you have chess matches and you have a boxing match after each chess round. And it's like, is that more of a test to become the ultimate person of who you are? Maybe it's a test of your economic status as well. And so the Ultimates kind of embrace becoming the best you can be, like Rickard's talking about having a prosthetic arm where the hand can turn 360 degrees. Well, if my arms and joints can turn 360 degrees and backwards and forwards, that makes me a better human, right? In their eyes, maybe I would say, yeah, why not? Rickard says when you are no longer bound by human physiology, you can find, as people have in today's world, that the ball joint in the wrist has benefits that our normal arm mechanics don't have. And there it is, dead man. Chess boxing. Yeah, you can win one of two different ways. You're getting your ass kicked. You're like, I'm gonna beat your ass in some chess because my eyes swollen shut. Chess boxing is a hybrid that combines two traditional pastimes: chess, a cerebral board game, and boxing, a physical sport. The competitors fight in alternating rounds of chess and boxing. Chess boxing was invented by French comic book artist Enki Belial. Ooh. Wow, okay, all right. I didn't know it was created by a comic book artist, but why the hell not? Now, to get away from some of the more dark issues, because we did talk about unmentionables before, about serial killers and people being tortured in VR and things like that. But Altered Carbon, at least a television show, and I know I'm already setting you off there, Rickard. I already hear you. Deals with science fiction embracing like the classic noir idea or ideals of, you know, the dark detective and the femme fatale and such. In Altered Carbon, one of the main characters in the first season, at least, wakes up after well over 200 years, I think 250, 275, something like that. And he still has his heart set for his lost love, Gilchrist, the person who trained him and is a badass herself. And in a more honorable manner, I could see player characters having a thread that links them to someone, a lost love, that is very easy to lose that person, to have them be lost in a world where They can re-sleeve into any number of bodies. They can have their brains manipulated or copied or edited. They could be in cold storage, and any number of individuals trying to search for their lost love, because much like a noir detective and the femme fatale walks into the detective agency, who in all her classic sexual manner is trying to manipulate the detective into doing what he wants, but somehow, some way, the detective breaks through her cold heart, and they become interlinked inexorably forever and ever. Right? That's a thing that is pretty cool. I think you could, whether this person is a contact for a player character, or it's a subplot that the player character is always going towards them. And as a matter of fact, in another subplot for, say, in the Ultra Carbon series, the main character, Takashi, has a sister, and his sister, in many ways, has a strangely unhealthy relationship with her brother, in the sense of always basically stalking her brother and wanting him to do things that erode his moral code, but always hanging around him in different bodies and personalities and things. Some would say there's probably a very subtle, rather Methuselistic, sick relationship of like incest or something. Um, that's a possibility. Also, in Ultra Carbon, there are people known as meths. Meths are, it's short for Methuselah, individuals who have lived far past what we would consider normal human um, range of age for life, and that it is part of the world that it is assumed that the longer you live, the less human psychologically you become. You lose track of what it means to be moral and upstanding, if there was anything in you in the first place. And so, the idea of murder, suicide, abuse, torture, any of the philias, sadomasochism just becomes just another part of your life when you're a Methuselah, especially if you're very rich and powerful. It's just another pastime. It's another hobby that you can pick up. There's one of the characters in Altered Carbon tries to seduce the main character by saying, "Oh, well, maybe if you come with me, we can go to my own private island, and I have an island filled with copies of my body and my mind, so you could have fun with me and be in an own harem filled with people like me." Right there, I mean, there's all kinds of like strange and weird and pretty damn sick things that you can do when technology is available and affordable and cheap enough, and is able to meet our wishes with our needs, right? And so maybe the player characters, I think this is something, body horror and psychological horror, I think, are things that maybe we might miss a little bit in some of the games, especially if you're playing it more like Cyberpunk, or even if you're playing it more like Call of Cthulhu. I think I think we as humanity might be our own horrible monsters, and I think that's something great to play with. I think it's a firewall agent hunting down a haven faction of like pedophiles who are buying, trading, and selling, cold storage stacks that they're inserting into children, child morphs and such, and having their way with them and shutting that down. I think that's a great storyline. With firewall agents operating more in the idea of like less special forces, more law enforcement. I think it's a great idea. Chess boxing, going with the chess boxing thing, was adapted by a Dutch performance artist, Lepe Rubing as an art performance. It has subsequently grown into a competitive sport. Boxing is particularly popular in Germany, United Kingdom, India, and Russia. You know, we tend not to make a correlation between accidents and absurdity and our own reality. That I'm gonna pick with Kim Kardashian as an example. Some things that we today think is pretty ridiculous becomes the norm, right? And you know, eventually someone goes, "Wouldn't it be funny if?" And then someone else goes, "It would be funny if." Maybe we should do something like that. Maybe we could have fun with this thing that is absurd or whatnot. And pretty easy, I think, in a transhumanist society where um, it's like, what's an idea? You could have a collection of people who are so old now that their only purpose, and we've seen this before in classic intellectual properties. Hey, we're going to have a competition to see if we can make this person fall in love with us, some rando person, and make them fall in love with us, and or make them fall in love with us, break their heart, and then make it happen again. Why? Because they're bored, right? And then all of a sudden, the player characters are like, who's this person sending me flowers or inviting me to special events and sending me blueprints for rare clothes, you know, a certain type of fashion style or something, or maybe my muse is set to set off an alarm whenever I'm being tracked, and it's being set off over and over again. And who's tracking me on social media? Like, what the hell's going on? Or a player character breaks into some hidden enclave, and they look through some sensitive data about some weapon of mass destruction, and hidden down deep below the weapon of mass destruction files, they're like, what's deeper below this? And all of a sudden they see themselves in their in a virtual reality world being tortured or manipulated, or they find their psychological profile but inserted into the bodies of other individuals. They're like, who the hell did this? And who took my information? And when was I scanned? And what the like what mother I could care less about the weapon of mass destruction. Who stole me and why? And for what purpose? Even crazier, could you imagine a player character hunting down someone, and it turns out to be themselves because it is a part of their personality? Maybe the player character has always wanted to get rid of. Maybe they were a criminal. Maybe they did something that they feel guilty about. Maybe they were somehow born with a condition that the rest of society says, you know what? There's no cure for you. You need to be put down. And so the player character figured out a way to eradicate that dark part of their personality, but somebody saved it. Someone saved the fact that they are a torturous serial killer. Somebody saved that they were, a rapist or a murderer or something, and then inserted it into somebody else, reconfigured it, re-sleeved it, and now that person becomes their arch nemesis, and the player character doesn't even know it. And now, not only do they not know it, but once they find out, they're like, "Oh, I better not let anybody else know, because that might be a real part of my personality." Spoiler alert: that has a lot to do with the television show, Amazon Prime television show here in the States called Upload, about an individual who dies and is uploaded into lowercase heaven, where people go to live out the rest of their days. And he has a portion of his personality that has been deleted. And so the meta plot in that story is he's living in this strange world where he's living in a VR realm, but he wants to figure out, like, what the hell was in my brain? Why can't I remember it? And where has it gone? And you find out that there's something dark. There's a dark part of that his desire is to reconstitute his personality, only to find out that maybe you never wanted that part of yourself in the first place. So yes, maybe segued quite a little bit away from, love and lust and desire and such, but, sleeving into biomorphs that are, sexually attractive, using AI systems to manipulate people to say and do the things that make people desire to want to follow you and be around you, wearing certain colors, having a certain tone in your voice, having a certain cadence. Maybe there's a body language that people are subtly attracted to. And with an advanced AI system, it could very much be related to mind control, even hypnotism, simply by finding enough commonalities in someone's personality that draws them to them. Like, that person wore a peach colored shirt. I don't know why, but I like that. Although that would be the unconscious mind, right? So yeah, kind of strange, kind of weird, but I also think these are story elements I think sometimes we can forget about, the subtleties of them, the idea of creating NPCs in and around the player characters that they might be their own NPC contact. They may be others. Heck, even player characters who have a dark twist to their own personalities that they are either trying to get rid of or excise or destroy before other people find out about it. So I think these are all great ideas that you can use I think are great to use for transhumanist, well, heck, all science fiction, but especially applicable for transhumanism. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you very much for joining me. Not really sure what next week's thing will be. I've been reading through the Discord for ideas for DBJ. One of them has to deal with limitations, which I think it's meta enough to really draw in, especially draw all week long. And by the way, guys, thank you very much for supporting the channel, supporting me in any ways. Please like, share, subscribe. Go over to Twitch, become a follower over there, spread the channel around, participate, all those kind of good things. And anyway, besides all that, have a safe and enjoyable and positive weekend. So you guys have a great one. I will see you later. Bye. By the way, thank you very much for watching. Everyone, have a great one.